In this episode, Haruka returns to come to the defense of Yuga. Hey, this is Rex, and let's discuss the next episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens. Now, this one, for the most part, like near the beginning, we're following two separate storylines, and then a good chunk of it focuses on the duel. Again, because where we last left the main heroes, they're all in the Goha mines. So let's go ahead and catch up with them first. So while they're in the Goha mines, they're going through and, of course, trying to explore things. Eventually, Kaizo catches up with them, as well as Hunt, the little one of the little Jurassic kids. And Kaizo lets them know that while he was with Neil is giving them some information that there's something that lies on the outskirts of Goha with inside the mines, and that he specifically sent Hunt to help them find it because he's got he's got some skills that are going to be able to help them find it. So with them kind of being caught up with that, that's their goal. They're set to find that out. But of course, while they're exploring the mines, not that there has to be a duel in every episode. I mean, there technically wasn't one with Roman's Kitchen, but there still is a duel that happens up on the surface. Now, there's a Goha guy, not one of the top people, but he is a disassembler. He's able to disassemble a bunch of things, and he charges his way all the way to Yuga's lab. Yuga's what's the phrase? What did I forget? Lab? Is that it? Workshop, I think. No, workshop, that's it. So he finds his way to Yuga's workshop, and he's met by Yoshio and his friends, as well as the newspaper club, and he disassembles all of their stuff because that's his ability. He's able to disassemble things. Funny thing, but I guess it makes sense, with all the construction and everything going on. And this guy, by the way, his name is Zomyoji, I believe it was, and with Yoshio disassembling a suit, even though he doesn't really need it, he scurries off because he's without a suit. And of course, even the newspaper club, all of their equipment has been disassembled. Didn't even a pen. You can even disassemble a pen, but they're saved by Haruka, who comes in and even stops their big not dozer thing, but their big vehicle with her bassoon. And so now she throws down against Zomyoji in this duel. So it's kind of interesting that we get to see Haruka returning. It's even mentioned at one point that in terms of her skills, she should be about number 1 at Goha 7, even though Yuga had beaten her before. But in terms of like her skill, she is, one of the top duelists at least. And I guess we kind of see that again with her attitude in how she duels and how she carries herself. So it's a pretty neat duel. For one thing, Zomyoji is using all these beast construction monsters, and they have abilities, and his whole deck is based around having them in defense, right? They have high defense but no attack, but they also have cards that would, like Sword and Shield, right, that would switch their attack defense to allow him to attack, but then play defensively during his opponent's turn and force his opponent to attack some of their high defense monsters, even lowering the attack of his opponent's monsters. So some neat strategies we're seeing here. I'm liking we're seeing a lot of cool things that are playing around with the defense of monsters, and that becomes a problem for Haruka as she summons her boss monster, and it loses attack and it's forced to attack this this big defensive monster. And between the two, it's kind of interesting because I got sort of a feeling of like unstoppable force meets a movable object. As we know, Haruka likes being called Tiger, so she has the tiger iconography behind her. And with Zomyoji, his ace monster is an elephant. So it's kind of a neat thing. We get the big elephant versus big tiger, at least. So it's just having that kind of duality. And they apparently know each other from before, at least, when they were sort of younger, just because of the way that Haruka addresses him and talks to him. So Haruka is able to summon a brand new monster, and I think that this is kind of a better monster, or at least, a new monster that we haven't seen before. And it's Bassoon Finger, the musical deity Oni. I think I got that name right. But I think this is a better monster for her because, it's based around the bassoon, which is the instrument that she carries around with her. Which, by the way, I like that she just wields this instrument like a weapon. And an interesting point, we're given a little more detail about it, in that while she was out training, she just found it, right? She just found this big piece of metal that happened to look like an instrument, and from that she made her instrument. And they even mentioned before that apparently, I think it's made out of this, of course, it's, a fictional metal, Gohanium, in that that's what stops the machine. That's how it stopped the machine, because it's very, very strong. And so just the fact that we're introduced to this metal, and that's even the name of the episode. The episode's name is like Sound Gohanium, which on top of that is like a reference, I think, to a musical based anime. But just the fact that we're introduced to this metal, it's gonna play into something later on, and especially with some of the big information that we get later. So this metal Gohanium, it's definitely probably gonna play into something. At least, I would expect. But the duel goes well, again, for Haruka, as this monster, she's able to pump it up to somewhere around like 6,000 attack with various cards, and is able to give it the piercing effect to where, even though she's forced to attack this monster with high defense, she just boosts it up and pierces right through it, and basically gets rid of him in, I think, one shot. But it's a good duel overall. And while Zomyoji says, fine, forget about the duel, I'm still going to dismantle everything, Galliant comes in from underground, because he's just kind of off doing his own thing now, but he comes out and he kind of tells him, you did this by yourself. I know that you were just trying to, do this for Asana, for the Great One, but, it's time to go. We got to go. And so it makes sense, coming from him, because after Galliant, again, losing his machine, losing his duel, and kind of he's still kind of with Gohan 6, but kind of not. He's just off doing his own thing. He left his uniform. So it's kind of interesting to see him now kind of come to the aid again of Yuga and his friends, or at least just kind of do what he thinks is right, and it makes sense. So that's just kind of neat to see. So now we catch up with everybody else as they're still underground, and they're stumbling across what they're looking for, which apparently is a bunch of prototype dual discs that are buried out in the outskirts of Goha, underneath. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays into it. And again, if I'm making predictions, this metal, Gohanium, maybe the prototype dual disc are built with that, and maybe has something to do with maximum monsters. Because again, Neil was very surprised by the fact that Asana had a maximum monster, because he had it for only him, and again, the fact that Yuga was able to make it was like a complete surprise, or just complete like out of nowhere. So for all Neil knew, he was the only person with maximum monsters, and when Yuga did that 1 in a million shot, that one time maximum monster thing, that was a surprise. But that's probably what the secret is. Something, there's some kind of connection. But interestingly enough, if they're finding basically the source of how to create more maximum monsters, then I think that's going to be interesting to see, especially if, say, they recreate Magitech Deity, and he gets to keep that permanently, at least in his deck, and have that for, say, other maximum duels in the future. So that'll be kind of neat to see. But overall, a good episode, and again, I think it was kind of interesting to have the main duel take place again above ground while everybody's still underground. So next episode, the preview for it was kind of interesting, so we'll see exactly how that plays into it, but we're still at least going to be with the main group, at least to a degree, and we'll see how they get through with this mine. But overall, a good fun episode. I did like seeing some of the other older characters come back together, and just seeing that there are more threats at Goha 6 aside from just the big three. There's more people there, so and again, they're not the big three. They're not being used as much, in just that they can just kind of grab other characters, or grab other characters who are still affiliated with Goha 6 and that fight for them. So it's kind of interesting. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you enjoy this episode? What did you think about it? And where do you think things are going to be heading in the future with this arc? Overall, I mean, I'm loving this arc. It's really not weird, but I mean, the whole series is weird, but in a good way, in the best way possible. But gosh, there's just so much going on. But if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, to show your support. You can enable notifications to make sure you see each new video as well. But anyway, this has been Rex. Have a nice day.